And we're back with some more Washington Capitals franchise mode in FHM 10. And in this one, we have the start of year number 10 with your Washington Capitals coming off of a huge offseason where we acquired who is quite possibly the best player in the NHL right now, Connor Bedard, out of free agency, signing for $16.25 million for the next 6 years. It's quite the commitment for sure. Obviously, a big move right after we won the Stanley Cup. Could be seen as questionable as well, considering the fact that, you know, we had the winning recipe and having traded away guys like Misa, who's now in the Minnesota Wild, Deruio, Carrier, Galvis, and of course Spencer Knight, who I actually traded before this video started. I just kind of wanted to get him out of the way. It wasn't really much of a return anyway. It was only a 4th round pick. That was the most I was able to get back due to his contract. But I think a lot of it was change that needed to happen anyway. Because first of all, Deruio, Carrier, and Galvis were all asking for way too much on their next contracts, more than I was willing to pay them. So I wasn't going to be re-signing any of them regardless of what happened with Bedard, right? So I figured move on from them 3 at least. And then we needed to free up more cap for Bedard. So at that point, you trade Misa because obviously you have Bedard at first line center. And then with Mata on the up and coming, and then Carconi had a really good season last year. Misa just didn't really fit in anymore. Now I won't deny he had a very good postseason last year with 20 points in 21 games played, but during the regular season he was just he's very inconsistent, and we were sort of relying on him to be that first line center that he never really panned out to be. He had a really good season the year before last season with 75 points, but a lot of his points came from the power play, and he wasn't on the power play last season for whatever reason. And just to add another point to the argument, there was a 1 point last season where Misa was once again on the 4th line. I mean, that's a little ridiculous at that point, right? Like, I want to have some stability at first line center, and with the coach putting Misa, who is a 3.5-star ability, on the 4th line, I just said, you know what, let's free him. Let's get him out of this purgatory and get him the ice time he deserves. And obviously that wasn't going to happen with Bedard coming on. And then not to mention with his contract coming up, he wanted over $6 million on his extension. That just wasn't going to happen. So that is why he has been moved out to Minnesota. And as for Spencer Knight, I felt like we could afford to move on from him because Jack Ivankovic, I mean, granted, he hasn't played a full season yet in the NHL, but in the games that he has played, he's been phenomenal so far. 918 save percentage 2 years ago, and then last year a 919 save percentage. Very consistent. Obviously, we don't have much on him in the playoffs yet. He only has 45 minutes played in the 2030-31 playoffs. But again, a huge part of what I was looking for out of this offseason was to acquire players that I knew were going to be consistent. And I have a good feeling that Ivankovic will be a very consistent goaltender based on what we've seen so far. I think the evidence is pretty clear. I mean, we'll see if that holds true over a full season, right? I'm not saying it definitely will, but I have a pretty good feeling about Ivankovic based on what we've seen out of him so far. And Jonathan Engstrom, he did very well in the preseason. I believe he had, what was it? I think it was a 919. Yeah, 919 save percentage during 3 games of the preseason. So I figure, you know what? Let's cut the huge contract of Spencer Knight and move in a younger direction with our goaltending. So hopefully we haven't messed up our team chemistry too much with all those moves. I mean, I know there's the idea of if it ain't broke, don't fix it, but the way I saw it, that wasn't going to happen anyway with all the players that we couldn't afford. So that was my train of thought behind this past offseason. And I suppose with that, we will go ahead here with your year number 10 Stanley Cup champion, Washington Capitals, and see if we can defend our title. First major injury of the year, Carconi goes down for 2 to 3 weeks with a fractured rib. Another major injury, Afanasev down for 2-3 weeks. I don't get it, man. I don't get it. Of course, as soon as I express trust and confidence in Jack Ivankovic, he starts out the season with an .872 save percentage in 8 games played. That's just great. That's fantastic. The season's not going as planned so far. 10 and 11. Engstrom, I mean, he's doing better, but not to the point where it would offset how badly Ivankovic has done so far. We are 24th in goals against per game with a 3.67. I've been seeing some strange things out of this game recently, but Tomas Galvis being on waivers when he has 22 points in 31 games played for Colorado is definitely a choice. I wonder what Colorado's defense looks like, where they feel like they can just waive a defenseman who has 22 points like that. He'd be their leading point scoring defenseman right now. Why'd they waive him? Can they just not afford him either? But still, yeah, you would think that they would want to keep him. That is so weird. I've been seeing some weird things out of this game recently. Unfortunately, Afanasev is injured once again for another 2 to 3 weeks, so that does not help things here. No, you gotta be joking. You gotta be joking. Don't tell me. Don't tell me. Oh, okay. It's not terrible. It's not that bad. Only 2 to 3 weeks. I saw that 1% and I got very nervous. Oh man. Okay. Connor Bedard out for 2 to 3 weeks. That's fine. It's fine. We can deal with it. Although unfortunately it comes at something of a bad time, as it's currently January 1st. We're 19, 16, and 1. We're somehow in third currently. Frankly, I don't understand that with this record. It's definitely been a shaky season so far. Definitely not what I expected. And unfortunately, a big part of that, Jack Ivankovic in 10 games played with an 877 save percentage. So of course, my hunch had to be wrong, at least so far. Obviously, there's still plenty of games to go, but not a good showing for Jack Ivankovic. I don't know what happened. I don't know why he suddenly decided to do this, have 2 straight seasons of solid goaltending to whatever this is. Thankfully, Engstrom's been good with that 915 and 29 games played, so maybe it'll be Engstrom who ends up being our permanent starter here. I mean, that's certainly what it's looking like so far. But Jack Ivankovic, man, I had high hopes for him going into the season. Now I'm not so sure. Oh no, you gotta be joking. Ryan Lynn now too? Oh no, oh no, okay. 1 to 2 weeks. Ooh, man, that 2 close calls. 2 close calls in a row with Bedard and Lynn. All right, Connor Bedard finally back from his injury. We definitely missed him there. Thankfully, we haven't spiraled too out of control here. We're 26, 19, and 2, and we're somehow still third. So hopefully we can keep that up with the return of Connor Bedard to the lineup. Oh, new achievement. One of your players scores a natural hat trick. I wonder who it was. It looks like, yep, Connor Bedard, as expected, with his 24th, 25th, and 26th goals of the season in the 8-0 victory over Nashville. 3 to 4 month injury for Charles DeMay. Unfortunate. Ty Carty back up here. He was in the minors for a little bit, because he unfortunately has not been great ever since we signed him, really. And we're currently 33, 22, and 3. Still somehow in third, so we're looking pretty good. Definitely not what I would call stable. I mean, the goals against has definitely improved. We're 5th in the league now for that with a 3.02. And goals against per game, we are 7th in the league with 3.47. Power play is, that power play is looking rough. 17.5. Despite the fact that we have Connor Bedard on our team now. We have, I mean, Ryan Lynn, Afanasev, Lambos. We have so many offensive weapons, and yet 17.5. So that's just great. Penalty kill. Also brutal. So 75.6. So I don't know what's going on with the special teams here, but I would imagine that is a big part of the struggles in the games that we're struggling in. Thankfully, we've been winning more often than not, but still definitely some concerns going into the playoffs. All right, you know what? Hold on. I'm going to take a look at these. What the heck is going on with the special teams? Kidney, Bedard, Tite, Lin, and Levshunov on the first line power play, and then Suzdalev, Karkoni, Afanasev, Lambos, and Huang. I mean, that's a pretty solid power play. I mean, I would personally get Mata on there. Penalty kill, Mata, Suzdalev, Bourne, and Reeder. Rausa, I actually re-signed him due to the amount of injuries at forward we were getting, alongside Crystal, Lambos, and Lin, and then Williams, Stesko, Huang, and Levshunov. Yeah, that's weird. I don't know why our power play all of a sudden decided to fall flat, but I don't think there's much to be done. I think we just go into the playoffs once again and hope we can protect our title here. Because it's not like the team as a whole is struggling. It's just specifically the special teams. I mean, I understand the penalty kill struggling, but it's the power play struggling that really is like bugging me right now. Like, why on a team with this many offensive weapons are we struggling on the power play? It doesn't make any sense. Oh boy, Tyler Reeder goes down 2 to 3 weeks. All right. Oh, you're kidding me. Suzdalev and Lambos now. 1 to 2 weeks for Suzdalev. Mata's actually injured as well. And actually, Lambos is a suspension. So we're going to have to call up probably McCarthy or Sjostrom. All right, so we have finished the regular season 45, 34, and 3. Definitely some struggles in there, I won't lie, but at least we made it. Now let's check out the stats for the season, and we'll start out in goal. You have Engstrom in 66 games played with a 905, and then Ivankovic in 22 games played with an 896. So my hunch about Ivankovic was unfortunately wrong. He did not do so well this season. And on defense, you have Lin with 63 points, Lambos with 48, 47 for Levshunov, 36 for Huang, 35 for Bourne, 14 for Reeder, 10 for Elaine Samake, and 2 for Owen McCarthy, who got the call-up. And at forward, you have Connor Bedard with 82 points in 70 games played. Then you have Ashton Tait with 66 points in 80 games played. So he had a real good year there after only scoring 37 last season. And then you have Kidney with 51, Suzdalev with 50, 49 for Mata, 46 for Crystal, 40 for Stesko, 36 for Rausa, 34 for Orfanasev, 31 for Carconi after getting a 61-point season last season, 16 for Toropchenko and Williams, 12 for Demey, 11 for Shilov, and 10 for Kartai in 20 games played. So when Kartai does play, he does get points, but he just doesn't play very often. So I guess with that, we will see who we have in the first round. And it will be the Philadelphia Flyers, who are 44, 30, and 8 on the regular season. And I think with that, we'll end things off here. And the next one, we will go through the playoffs of year number 10 with your Washington Capitals.